everyone, welcome to today's training. Let me know if you're joining on the replay and say hi in comments. I'll just wait for some people to join on the live. But if you are joining on the replay, let me know that you're here. I am super excited about today's topic. It really is kind of my bread and butter, for want of a better word. So really looking forward to bringing today's training to you. So I'll just wait for some to join. Let me just bring it up on the laptop as well while I'm waiting for people to join. How are you all doing? If you're watching on the replay, let me know how you are. And then we will get started in a moment. Okay, let me just check. I am actually live in the group. Okay, yeah, I can see myself. That is a good start. Okay, so I'm going to make a start and hopefully people will join. But if you are joining or if you have joined and it's just not showing me, then just let me know that you're here. Say hey, let me know you can hear me and see me okay. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is like probably one of the most like life shifting things that I've ever learned about. Okay, so when I learned this stuff, I was pretty anxious, I was pretty unhappy, didn't particularly enjoy my life. And when I first started to learn about positive psychology and this science of happiness, it began to shift so much for me. And I basically, like in summary, just started to enjoy my life more. So, and this for me was like really groundbreaking. It was like, okay, life can be different. Things can be different. We don't have to struggle. We don't have to have anxiety. We can live a life full of joy. Like all of these things are completely possible. Like as we know, anything is possible. But with these tools, like so much more is possible for us. And I also like to think of them as a way of kind of like hacking our brain as well, because that's what we're doing, but in a really tangible and long-lasting way. We're actually changing the brain structures. We're creating new pathways, and this enables us to do and be so much more. Okay, so I want to start a little bit just kicking us off with what I talked about in my TEDx. So in my TEDx I talked about this analogy of a tree and be like a tree, and this tree analogy came from a gift that I was given a few years ago that said that I was like a tree. It said that I was always focused on my personal growth and development, and I'm always quite a calming influence, quite grounding and calming to be around, a bit like the roots of the tree in the ground. And I'm always kind of reaching up to the light, learning new things, having that positive outlook. And I realised that there was going to be more to it than this. I realised that there was going to be more about this tree or these trees, and how this would connect and really bring to life what it is that I'm about and what I can help you with as well. So it really kind of like brings everything together. And it was when I was doing research for my TEDx that I came across like these amazing stories about trees, and this for me like really sort of helped to cement the idea of the tree, and how important it was, and what a great analogy it was to think of as well. So when I was researching, I found that in Hurricane Katrina, the trees were still standing after the storm. So everything else was gone, but the trees were still standing, and they couldn't understand why the trees were still standing. It didn't make sense how there was like mass devastation, yet these big giant oak trees were still there and still standing. And they investigated and they looked deep underground, and they found that the root systems of the trees went deep underground and connected to each other through these root systems. And an exact same thing happened in 9/11 as well. There's a tree, you can visit it in the Memorial Gardens, and this tree was still standing through everything that happened on that day as well. So and again, it's because the root systems were connected under the ground. So with this tree, it can help us to think about positive psychology. So I'm going to talk a little bit around the science of why this works, and you'll see how this tree comes to life through the science. But it's about, when we say science, it's not just like the biological, neuroscientific, but it's also the quantum as well, and that kind of goes into the energy space and the energy work as well. So it's kind of this like quantum shifting that we're doing here as well, not just on the neuroscientific level. So I'm going to share a bit with you around the science of why this stuff is like really important, and then we're going to move on to some things that you can do, some really tangible steps to bring this to life for you in your lives, and we're going to bring it into your business as well. So this is what I work with. This is what I work with my clients on. You know, a lot of the time it's very much focused on this positive psychology and how we can bring these neuroscientifically proven evidence, but also we know has that shift on energy in the quantum field, into our lives, into our businesses, to help us be more productive, to help us achieve more, and basically at the end of the day, just help us enjoy our lives more and connect more fully with ourselves, which is really what this is all about. So I'll just start with a bit of the neuroscience behind this, and this is very, very recent research. So a lot of psychological techniques or things used in consultancies are very much based on, unfortunately, a lot of the time in my experience, especially in the corporate world, you know, I had a 15-year corporate career in financial services, and a lot of the suppliers and a lot of the training providers that we worked with had very much out of date models. So yes, they were still relevant, and yes, you know, we still look to the work of like Carl Jung and you know, in shadow work, but bringing in this positive psychology element to this, we can gain that really nice balance that's kind of up to date with the latest neuroscience on this stuff as well. So what it basically is, for those of you that don't know, is that when you bring positive emotion into your everyday, into your life, into your business, that starts to release those feel-good chemicals. Okay, so if you think about something that brings you joy, you know, that could be a child, it could be a pet, it could be a plant, it could be an activity that you do, you know, it could be eating, it could be sex, it could be, you know, anything. So think about something that brings you that immense level of joy, and obviously that feels good and you feel happy and you feel that positive emotion, but it's about so much more than that. Okay, so firstly, if we bring these things into our lives, then we can feel good, we can experience more positive emotion, and that feels great, but it's about so much more than that. And this is the bit that was mind-blowing for me, is that it's about, that's my speaker turning off from earlier when I was dancing to increase my positive emotion. We can, what's happening is we're actually fueling the brain. So when we flood the brain with positive emotion, genuine positive emotion here I'm talking about, I'm not talking about fake smiley faces or light washing or anything like that, but genuine positive emotion, and we flood the brain with those positive emotions, it starts to shut down the amygdala, and it starts to shrink the amygdala, which is the fight or flight response. So we become more resilient because we are shrinking that amygdala down. Therefore, we're less likely to react to situations because our brain structures are changing. And then the other fantastic thing that it does is it fuels the brain. So it actually gives, so those positive emotions that release oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin in the brain, I say brain funny, brain in the brain, makes me think of that song, Insane in the Membrane, Insane in the Brain. In the brain, what happens is it starts to give us brain fuel. So all of those pathways in the brain and the areas in the brain responsible for creating creativity, logical thinking, productivity, the parts that we need every day really, and the parts that we need especially in our businesses, they all start to get lit up. And this has been proven time and time again by putting people into brain scanners and studying their brains, as well as kind of that anecdotal evidence of how people are feeling by implementing these techniques. So I share this in my TEDx, and you're very welcome to watch that. This is kind of like the extended and practical version of that today, plus some kind of added and updated bits on. And what I did is I did some research on this. So about, when was it I did this? 2015 or 2016, I believe. I was challenged on this. Okay, so I learnt positive psychology in 2014. It was not at all mainstream then. And people looked at me like I was completely crazy. Like, what on earth are you talking about? Maybe she's just talking about some positive thinking fad. And when I put the research under their noses, they were blown away. And in the corporate world in particular, I started to implement these practices into the teams that I was working with, and it was just mind-blowing, the differences that happened in terms of engagement, in terms of even like looking at the hard results of of the kind of financial impact and the customer impact of of implementing these things. And it's because everyone's brains were more fueled and they had less stress and anxiety. So I was challenged on this. It was like, okay, well, this is a relatively new field. It's actually not that new. So this is how long things take to come through. So, Martin Seligman, he was doing research on this stuff. I think it was around sort of like the noughties. So, there's, or maybe even earlier than that, maybe even like late 90s. But it's taken this long for it to filter through. It's taken this long to get into journals, get into publications. And I really felt this myself. So I really felt myself mirroring this journey of like, oh my gosh, this stuff is life-changing. Everyone needs to know this. And then just being like shut down almost by it. But I kept going and I kept persevering, and that's how I got to where I am today, because I just kept going with it. I just kept speaking about it. I just kept putting the science under their noses until they paid attention. But anyway, this guy, lovely guy, very full on, very confident, said to me, prove it. And he didn't say it it wasn't in like a nasty way, like, yeah, prove it. He went, prove it. So I went, all right, then I will. So I went off and did an experiment. I found 180 people who were willing to see if the things that I talked about would make them happier. So I replicated some research by Shawn Achor, who's one of the most amazing positive psychology gurus. And Shawn Achor, I actually wrote to Shawn and said, are you happy for me to replicate your research, so that I can, so that I can look at the results of myself and kind of feel what happens and chat to the people, and B, are you happy for me to talk about my replication of your research in my TEDx? And he came back and said, yes, absolutely, I just want this stuff to be shared, which was incredible. And like, I was so like, he contacted me. He also retweeted one of my tweets once, not that I use Twitter anymore, but that was just like amazing. So the 5 activities that Shawn talks about, and this is what I've replicated in my research, and I want you to think about these over the lens of what you can do with these as I'm talking about them. Okay, so the first one is an act of kindness. So we know, and this is how we can link in with the trees. So the trees were connected to each other through root systems. Okay, so the trees held each other up in Hurricane Katrina, and in 9/11, those trees that I've talked about, they held each other up against the storm. And this is how kindness can help us. This is how community can help us. This is how we can hold each other up against, the storms of life. We're not alone through this kindness. Okay, so it's doing an act of kindness every day, however big or small. But one thing just to be really mindful of with this one is a lot of us are highly sensitive and people pleasing, and I've had a lifetime of people pleasing. So it's really, really important that we are not putting, and I see this happen time and time again, like daily, what I see happening is people putting acts of kindness above themselves, and it becomes a distraction. So just a bit of a warning on this one. Just check in with yourself. What is the intention behind doing this? And I've spoken to friends who've gone and done lots of charity work, and actually what sits behind that is there's a real need to work on themselves, but they've kind of done it as a distraction and gone, no, I'm a good person, I'm going to go and do all this charity work. So just check in with yourself in what your intention is, and when I say making sure your cup is full, I know that sounds like a really cheesy phrase, but what that truly means is that you are in a high vibrational state, so that when you are with others, you are truly giving from your heart. Okay, you're not giving from a depleted place. And I'm sorry, but those days are over. Those days of sacrifice, push, I'm completely empty, you're full, I'm giving all to you. Those days are over, because we just know neuroscientifically that doesn't work. And if you're showing up in a low vibrational state, how is that impacting on your clients? How is that impacting on your friends and family as well? It's actually doing potentially more harm than good. So just watch that one. So an act of kindness, but just really watch that. So, I will kind of do these really randomly. If I'm out and I see something, because I've kind of got this, I guess, perception, this lens over it. When I'm out, I'll see it and I'll then do it. That's kind of what I do with that one. So the first one is act of kindness. The second one is gratitudes. So this can be, again, big or small. I'm grateful for this water. I'm grateful for a cup of tea. I'm grateful for this grand gesture that someone's done for me. It doesn't matter how big or small it is, but I'd love to make this really interactive. So I'd love for you to let me know, what things are you grateful for? And in your business, what are you grateful for? What clients are you grateful for? I've been working with the most incredible clients recently, and I'm so grateful for them because they teach me so much. A lot of things that they're going through and that I support them with, sometimes it helps me as well, and seeing their perspective and seeing the incredible shifts they are making on the world. It's just amazing, seeing those ripples. So I'm super grateful for them. So I would love to know, what are you grateful for, and in particular, what are you grateful for with your business as well? So that's the second one. Third one is exercise, and this is we all know the benefits of exercise, right? This one's kind of a no-brainer. Exercise releases endorphins, which makes us happy, which then releases more positive emotions, which then fuels our brain. So what I did with my experiment group was I just said exercise within your limits. So for some of them that was a run, for some that was a 10-minute walk around the block. For some, they would walk around the block together, doing an act of kindness with each other and talking about what they were grateful for. So some people kind of flip these up into one, and actually I'd hugely recommend this. This is one of the most groundbreaking things on habits, is if you've got a habit there already, if you can hook that habit onto it. So this is what I did with so I'm going to talk about meditation and journaling. So they're the final two. Is meditation and journaling, and in particular mindfulness meditation, because again, we're creating those brain pathways and structures not only for our happiness but for our well-being in general, because we're switching focus, and it's helping us switch between alert and relaxed states. That's what we're doing with mindfulness. Alert, relax. We're not doing just relaxation, but we're doing alert and relaxed states. So hooking them onto habits, I've just lost my train of thought there. Hooking them onto habits is a really useful way of doing it. So meditation and journaling, and in the research as well, it showed that positive journaling had the most effect, because if we positively journal, what happens is we relive that experience, and the brain doesn't know the difference between a real and an imagined experience. Therefore, it thinks that we're reliving the experience, and we get to experience those positive emotions, again and again and again. So we're constantly layering on this positive emotion. So what I tend to do is I also combine gratitude in with my meditation and my journaling. So I will meditate I will then, pull a tarot card or an oracle card. Sometimes I will, sometimes I just journal. I might use those as a prompt. I might use some prompts. I might just kind of free write, and I will journal about my future self and how grateful I am for my future self and the things that she is doing, the things that she has done, and journaling about it as if it has already happened. So I almost use it as like a manifestation technique, a journaling technique, and a gratitude technique as well, kind of all in one. So if you think about ways to combine these as well. So in summary, and these I showed in my research, there was a 15.3% increase in the happiness and well-being of this group of 180 people, and they were super honest as well. And some of them said to me, do you know what, Gemma, like, didn't have time, I did 3, and I did 3 really well. And what I did is I put these through. I'm not a huge fan of statistics, but for this purpose I really wanted to use the proper tools and get a result. So I put them through SPSS, a data statistical analysis tool, and I found that there was a 15.3% increase in their happiness and in their well-being, and that was a significant result as well. That the p-value was less than 0.05, which made, for those geeks out there like me, which made it a significant result. Okay, so random acts of kindness, gratitude, exercise, meditation, and journaling. So I would love to hear from you how you do those already, whether you combine them, and how you could bring more of those into your life, into your business. And then I also want to talk about strengths, and we can kind of put an energy lens over this as well. So another great way to bring this into your life is through using your strengths. Now, strengths just really helps you to get more shit done in less time, okay? Because everybody is unique. Now, last week's training, I talked a lot about this and being your authentic self, and this is where strengths comes in. So strength sits within the discipline of positive psychology, for want of a better word, discipline topic. And strengths are things that you are innately good at, that you enjoy doing, that you find joyful, that you find fun. So when you are using your strengths, and these may be things that you were good at as a child, when you are using your strengths, again, you're releasing that positive emotion because you're enjoying what you're doing, and that is fueling your brain even further. But also what it's doing is it's creating an energetic charge, okay? It's creating an energy, and that's putting you into a high vibrational state. So when we talk about high vibration, these habits can help you to get into a high vibration. And strengths is one of the ways that we can do that, by tapping into our strengths. And we can also use our strengths to look at what we need to dial up and dial down, and cap the strengths organization that I use and who I work with. And with clients, I always, for those that come into Shine Academy, we always get you a strengths profile. And working with CAP, they always talk about what do you dial up and what do you dial down. So there'll be things in your strengths that you're really, really good at and you would absolutely love doing. I'm sure you've all heard my story of when I made 100 meters of bunting. So I dialed up my creativity and I tapped into that. And in fact, I was sat last night with a notepad drawing a tree and a horse because I tapped, now and again, I just remind myself to tap back into that creative strength and how much joy that actually brings me. So dialing up those things, but also dialing down, because we are uniquely different. We are unique, we are different, and there are things that we don't enjoy. There are things that are not so enjoyable to us and aren't our strengths, and that's okay. And everyone has these, but what we can do by putting this lens over it is, okay, well, can I go into that mindset of a strength? So can I be really creative to achieve this in a different way? And then perhaps I need to do a live, specifically do a training on strengths, so let me know if that would resonate with you. But also, what things do we need to stop doing? What things do we need to delegate? Is there someone, there's likely to be, that there will be, because I've worked with thousands of people on strengths, and there's always an opportunity for a strength swap somewhere. So the things that you're not very good at, there may be someone that absolutely loves those things, okay? So that's maybe where you can, where you can bring in a VA, bring in someone to help you. And you can think really creatively about this as well. So I've used this in the past to do a skill swap. So I needed some VA work, and I knew a lady who was so good at writing and detail. And whilst I love writing, it's more of like a creative flow. I'm not so good at the detail. So I gave her some coaching, and in return, she transcribed lots of my lives for me and made them into blogs and created extra content for me. So so you can think about these things in terms of a swap as well, because you might be sat there thinking, yeah, it's all very well you saying that, but I can't hire a VA right now, or whatever that might be. But you can really think outside the box with this stuff and do a skill swap based on your strengths, not just on like your products or services. But using your strengths as well. And plus, you're then going to get more out of this, because you're going to be more energized, because you're going to be doing things, like both of you are going to be doing things that really light you up. So I just want to touch on shadow work as well. So this is one of the things. So when I learned all this stuff, and I've got a degree in psychology, so I'd already learned a little bit about Jung and shadow work, and I was like, how do these fit, right? Because if I'm positive all the time, then I'm not going to see my shadows. What about those negative emotions? What do I need to do with those? But as a school of thought, positive psychology is only about those genuine positive emotions, and it recognizes both. So what it says, and if you look within the research, what it says is we want to amplify, we want to up the ups. So we want to experience more of this positive emotion, because, and this is the reason why, right? This is the big why behind all of this. And this is because of survival instinct, okay? So survival instinct is our brain wants to protect us from harm. So it's looking for the negative, it's looking for the threat, it's looking for the things in your environment that are going to kill you. And this is why stress and anxiety are rife, because your brain is trying to protect you from harm, okay? And then we get all this conditioning on the top of this from our lives, from our childhood, blah, blah, blah. And then our life becomes this massive stress bucket, okay? So this is why it's so important, because we're flipping it. So with these habits, bringing this positive emotion in, we are flipping it, okay? So we're already on the back foot. We're giving ourselves a boost. We're hacking our happiness, if you like, but hacking it in a way that's really, really sustainable. So we're not creating. I have nothing against medication. I personally turned down meditation. I do not turn down meditation. I personally turned down medication for my anxiety, because I knew there was a way to create it sustainably, okay? And when we take medication, we're falsely creating those brain pathways. But when we do these habits, we're creating sustainable pathways that will last. And that's the difference, okay? This is why it's super, super important. But it's also really important to do our shadow work. So, the reality is there is a whole range of human emotions, and all of those are valid, okay? So yes, we want to up the ups. We want to have more joy. We want to experience more flow. We want to experience more awe, more beauty, like all of those things. But we also want to consider the negative emotions. And this is what gets us into a high vibrational state. So yes, so these habits are going to get you into that high vibrational state because of your energy. But also, when we look at our shadows, what we do is we transmute those shadows to light, okay? And it's really important to get that balance right, because we want to be, things that trigger us, negative emotions that we're feeling, we really want to be looking into those. And looking into why we're feeling them, not only why we're feeling them, but why we might be desiring them as well. So go back and watch the shadow work training on this, because this is super, super important. Because on some level, we may be working on, being more grateful, feeling more joy, but we're actually manifesting a load of shit over here because we're not looking at our shadows, okay? So it's this combination that gets us into high vibrational state, and it's genuine gratitude, genuine positive emotion. So, and this is something, this is like a phrase that I've heard that I just really liked, really resonated with me, which is positive thinking all the way, unless it is a distraction from your shadow, okay? So if you're doing it, it's genuine. If you're doing the shadow work as well, like that is where you want to be, okay? If you are doing it to distract yourself from the shadows, so I see people go one of two ways, okay? They either get in a loop with the shadow and they don't look at it, but they kind of feel it and go into victim mode. Oh, my life is this way. It always has to be this way. I have to feel this way. No, you fucking don't. Excuse my language. But you don't. okay, this is the thing, you can change this stuff here. Or it's all love and light, it's okay because I'm grateful, and you know, I do this work, and you know, I spread love and light, and I'm a healer, and you know, so I see like one or the other. I see this kind of pendulum swing, but where we want to be is somewhere in the middle. So we want to be building our happiness habits, we want to be experiencing more joy, but we also experience more joy through doing the shadow work as well. Okay, so it's about that appreciation of both, and bringing us into like a unity state, bringing us into that balance rather than these two dualities. So I hope that makes sense. And then lastly, the other thing I want to talk about is environment. Okay, so environment is super important, and this is where it comes into your business, and this can make a huge difference. So I, as part of my positive psychology studies, the group of us who were studying it, we got put into an experiment. So we really kind of kinesthetically felt this stuff, and I got taken into a room where the room was messy, there was rubbish all over the floor, there was chairs upside down on the table, and like really dark heavy metal music was playing. And we were shown a painting, and we were asked to come up with as many words as we could to describe this painting. Not like my Unity painting over here, it was like a really like dark painting actually. Like, how many words can you come up with? What can you see in this painting? And between us, we didn't come up with that many words in the group. It was a really dark room, not the nicest environment. Unknown to us, there was another group of people who had been put in a bright and airy room. There was skylights, there was light flooding in, there was classical music playing, and the facilitator was dancing around the room singing. This is Sue Langley, for anyone that knows Sue Langley, like she's quite like bouncy and joyful anyway. So she was kind of running around the room. And it was a very joyful place, and that group of people came up with so many more words. It was like hugely different. I think they came up with like hundreds, whereas we came up with like 40. So I've actually felt this firsthand, how your environment can make a huge difference to your creativity. And I used to find this in the corporate world as well. I used to find that, you know, being in a busy office with lots of desks and lots of people around and lots of noise did not foster positive emotion in me, especially as an introvert. And I just couldn't be creative in the office at all. There was just no way, it wasn't happening. But every time I worked from home, I had amazing ideas. I was amazingly creative, and I got so much more done as well. And that was completely down to the environment that I was in. So it's about finding that environment that works for you. But the main thing that you want to be thinking about is what can I do for my environment to foster that positive emotion. Okay, what is going to make me feel really good? And this is where stuff like Hygge comes in as well. So again, probably another completely new training on this, but that Danish concept of Hygge, and this is what I went to Copenhagen to research, is that, you know, that coziness that you create through that. So, you know, on a cold day, I might sit and work with my blanket, you know, with a cup of tea. It can be things like that. It can be, you know, having nice artwork, having a nice light space, having my sea view. You know, all of those things can really help us to foster that positive emotion. So I'd love to know. So let me know, what things can you do to create and foster that positive emotion in your workspace, in your business, with your clients? How are you showing up? This is another thing, right? How are you showing up with those clients? Are you showing up fueled, you know, with your brain fueled in that high vibrational space, so that you can hold that space for them? Like, how are you showing up for them? Something to think about. Okay, so I'm just going to have a sip of water. I'm doing all the accents today and the singing. So just to kind of summarize and cover off, and let me know if some of these other things I've talked about resonates. You know, I can do a training on strengths, I can do a training on Hygge, on energy. We can do another part 2 on shadow work. Let me know. So just to summarize then, so we've got your 5 activities you want to be doing. So random acts of kindness, gratitudes, exercise, meditation, and journaling. And tagging those onto habits that you've already got if you don't already do those things. Using your strengths. So as I said, those of you who work with me, we look at your strengths. We get you a strengths profile to really tap into this as a tool to get you into that high vibrational place, to get you using your strengths daily, using your strengths in your business, and letting go of those things that you don't, delegating those things, stopping doing them, reframing them. This is what I work with you. This is what I work with you on. Connecting you back to your true authentic self. Okay, this is ultimately what it's about. Remembering you need to be doing that shadow work as well. So not just always focusing on that positive state, but using this to kind of flip yourself out of that fight or flight mode. But doing the shadow work as well. So looking at those negative emotions, looking at those triggers, and actually doing that shadow work, as well as using these to bring you into that high vibrational state. So you want to be doing both. You want to be balancing both. And this is what gets you into that high vibration, and ultimately this is what gets you experiencing more joy as well. So you want to be doing all of those things. And remember, positive thinking all the way, but only when it's not a distraction from the shadows. Okay, so if you're doing it as a distraction, so remember, as I said, people tend to go in one or the other. So they go into like a victim spiral with, I've got these things wrong with me, I'm feeling this, and they're not doing anything about it, or they're plastering over it with love and light. And we really want to be coming into unity in the middle and balancing those things. So using these things to get you out of fight or flight, and then bringing in the shadow work, looking at the shadows as well. And then thinking about how you can foster that positive emotion in your environment as well. So, whether it's your workspace, whether that's how you show up for clients, maybe it's more of like a energetic space holding with this stuff, or how you are showing up, how you are using these habits to show up for your clients. Or maybe it is, in your physical environment, what it is that you need so that you've got that level of comfort, that level of like luxury. I like to sit and eat dark chocolate when I write posts, things like that could be really, really simple. But can make a huge difference, these little steps in the long run. Okay, so there's some things that you want to be doing. So if anyone has any questions, let me know. And I also just want to quickly announce as well that I am opening up 5 more spots for Cosmic Coaching. So one of the things I'm hearing from you guys is you love Shine Academy, you love the Happy Calm and Flow Club membership, but some of you have been asking to work with me on one-off sessions, also one-off sessions regularly as well. So I've decided to open up 5 more Cosmic Coaching spots. And in Cosmic Coaching, this is not for everybody. This is for coaches, for light workers, for healers who have some level of spiritual awakening, but they're ready to go to that next level. Okay, and what I've done in there is combined my accredited coaching skills, my mediumship skills, my intuitive coaching skills, to really tap you back into who you authentically are and what your purpose is on this planet. Okay, so we do meditation, we do energy healing, we do I kind of intuitively pick the tools that day. So it may be tarot or oracle cards. I tune into any messages that are coming through for you. But also, what I'm there to do is just hold the space for you. So I'm there to hold the space for you to channel through what comes through for you as well. And if perhaps perhaps you are like Reiki attuned and you can bring your own Reiki into it as well. I've had this happen like in the previous round with clients. It was like supercharged because they were doing their Reiki, I was doing my Reiki, and we just had all this stuff just like flooding through, which was amazing. Sort of amazing levels of healing and transformation. So we do that, and then I bring in my accredited coaching skills. So I'm an ICF coach, and I then bring those skills together to really help you to move forward. So we do the download, we tune you in with your purpose, we tune into any messages that are coming through, and then we move into coaching mode with that as next steps. So I'm opening up 5 spots for that to work with me one-to-one, but you can also work with me on that monthly basis as well. And if you sign up for the year, you get 2 months free, and in the unlimited version where you'll get Voxer support, so you can pretty much contact me like 24/7-ish within my boundaries on Voxer and get support through there as well when you need it. In the unlimited version, you'll also get a 2-hour human design reading with the amazing Kerry Bainborough. So work with Kerry on this level. And you'll get a 2 hours tapping into your design. So you'll get strengths with me, and then you'll get human design with Kerry as well. So just 5 spots of those available. I don't do one-off sessions very often. So if anyone is interested, if that resonates for you and you feel like that is you, drop me a message and we can chat over messages whether that is right for you, because you need to be at that level of spiritual awakening, ready to move forward with this stuff. So let me know any questions from today's session, or if you're watching on the replay, just pop them in comments, and I will come back to them. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm super grateful for you all for being here, for watching this video. I'm super grateful for the group, and the support you give each other and the support you give me as well. Like, super grateful for all of it. So have a great rest of your day. I've now got a message on my phone coming up, and I don't know if I can finish this video, but I'm going to try, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.